Well, hello you wonderful people, I'm Amy or AWayfaringFrog and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. I'm currently building in Willow Creek on Daisy Hovel, and I actually thought I'd try out a new build style today. So we're going to be building a shotgun styled house. From the little that I do know about that architecture style, the idea is that you kind of have airflow in a sort of a long stream towards the back of the house. So I guess I didn't quite make this in line with the traditional shotgun style because I do end up including a bit of a garage space that connects to the house and comes off the right hand side of it. So it doesn't quite work. Also, the back door is on the side of the house, and I think that shotgun style houses are meant to have the back door kind of coming straight off the back, so it's all going in one direction. But it's my first time trying it, and I couldn't figure out a floor plan that made sense and actually worked with decent enough sized rooms to do it in the way I think it's meant to be done. But hopefully you enjoy it anyway. I thought it was a very fun build, and it was actually massively inspired by the Restoration Workshop kit because there's several items in that which look really grungy and run down, and I was super keen to build a fixer-upper house, which is what this is. So it's looking okay at the moment, we're just getting the general shape together, but I do start adding in lots of kind of falling apart pieces, and of course including lots of the Restoration Workshop stuff in there. So the refrigerator and the stovetop and all of those things in that kit, they come kind of broken down and you have to restore them before you can start using them. So I made sure to add those in. But we'll get to the interior in a bit. I'm just starting decorating the roof now. So now it's beginning to look a bit run down as I'm adding these kind of pole pieces that come from Life and Death. They have a bit of an animation associated with them. So when you pan the camera over them, you can kind of see movement like you're looking through the roof, which is really fun. And I did originally try out this roof, which I think is from, it's either For Rent or Lovestruck, and I ended up switching it out for the one from Werewolves. I originally didn't default to Werewolves, even though that one is more run down and would probably suit this more, which is what I figure out eventually. But I just didn't originally pick it up because I thought it was almost too run down. But I think it works, so that does get switched out a bit later, and then I think it helps the big holes not stand out quite as much. They kind of blend in better, which I also preferred. I end up using the wallpaper from Horse Ranch, and it looks a little bit worn and old. And then the roof trim that I picked out, I actually change. It's the last thing that I change on this building, so it's right at the end of the video, but I end up making it kind of a similar colour to the roof that I end up going for from Werewolves. And I'm just adding a little fence in here. I wanted the driveway space to be fenced in. I was having some issues with the Space Game fence. You know how they auto-populate the little posts, and most of the time it's just not how you want it. So I had to play around with that, but I figured it out in the end, as you can see. So I figured that the pillars, which are from Werewolves, are effectively the fence posts, and that helps support the roof above it. And I just added in a car from Debug. No, sadly we do not have cars in The Sims 4. Although I say sadly, I still maintain that I don't think cars would work in The Sims 4, at least not usable ones. I would love some decorative ones and more garage furniture. Although with this Restoration Workshop kit, we got a decent amount of garagey stuff, so I really do love that. But I'm just doing a bit of landscaping now, and I went in mostly to make it look overgrown. I did use these little grass pieces, I suppose. They're just from base game, but as I was looking around in the neighborhood and the rest of the world, I noticed that they had a much more vibrant green color to all of the foliage around off lot. So I ended up picking up this other little grass piece just to highlight that a bit and bring it into this lot. I actually don't really like this grass piece. I think it's so neon green. I don't really understand why it's so bright. And then all of the base game foliage around as well, I feel kind of the same way, but I wanted it to tie into the world, and I can't change that, so I thought I'd try and embrace it, but still include the grass overgrown-y pieces that I do like. In terms of the windows that I used as well, I did end up just getting the ones from base game, same for the doors. I was originally thinking I'll use some of the more broken ones. We've got a few from the Life and Death expansion pack, and maybe some others, I can't quite remember, but they were just completely the wrong style, so I just opted for the ones from base game. So sadly they don't look broken down or anything, but it's the best I could do. I'm also just adding some terrain paint, which I do regret later on because I came back after a break when I first started building this, and then the classic terrain paint glitch happened, so it all disappeared. But I tried to make it look really messy, so I've kind of got a gravel driveway, and I sort of tried to spread out the edges of it so it just looks like it's all being pushed onto the grass, so it looks very messy. That was kind of the idea here, which is why it's not like crisp lines. And I am now just popping inside to start organising how I want to lay this out. So we're going to have kind of a galley style kitchen using the countertops from City Living, since they look just like the base game ones, although they don't have all the same swatches now after the various updates we've had on those. But they are just a much more run down version of those base game countertops. And I squeezed in the stovetop on one side of the wall. Problem is, it's a lot skinnier than the counter and just other stoves, so I kind of had to auto or custom place the countertops around it, which is really fiddly and really annoying, but I wanted it to be flush in there. So that's why I did that. Although thinking about it now, since this was a fixer-upper build, maybe I should have just left a gap and then had it angled. But oh well, I didn't think of that. I was just too busy thinking, why isn't it the right size? But we are now just in a little kind of utility room, I don't know what to call it. But I wanted to use these gameplay pieces from the Restoration Workshop kit. So you've got the breaker box and also I think a water heater or a boiler. And they just felt like really useful, fun gameplay items. And for a fixer-upper build, they just felt perfect. The only thing is, because I had this on a foundation, I didn't really want to include more raised patio space. I ended up just creating a room inside, which I think is still fairly realistic. Like most of us, at least in the UK, have a boiler in a cupboard somewhere. So that's just a bigger version of that. And I included a few other pieces from the workshop kit in there too. And now popping outside is where I included a few more bits and bobs from that kit. So you can see we've got another lovely woodworking bench. I'm so glad that we're getting some more. I've hated that base game one for so long, so I really like that we've got a couple more options now. I also figured that a fun story for this house would be whoever's taken up this residence after it was just abandoned and left to almost decay, I guess. They've kind of taken it upon themselves to try and bring it a new life. So they're perhaps making furniture for it, and they've been actively doing that, hence why there's lots of sawdust on the floor. And they're just trying to fix this place up. So it is a fixer-upper. I can't remember if I mentioned that already. It is just very run down looking, but the idea is that if you did want to play in it, you could probably start off and then work towards making the entire lot just look a lot nicer by replacing all of the things that look very grungy and not too nice. Although I think it's very fun making these kinds of builds. It's one of my favourite to do. And we have so many more grungy looking items in the game now, which is fantastic. Plus, with this kit as well, we've got the whole actually being able to get your Sims to restore things through gameplay. So it's not just like you jumping into build mode and then switching it out for something nicer. You actually get to do that in gameplay, which I think is really fun. I do wish they'd made it more into a game pack though, or a stuff pack, and I think they could have expanded it so much better. But sadly, we only have this limited version of it. It's better than nothing, I suppose, but it is a bit unfortunate. But we are now just sorting out the living area, so I just figured out where I would have the kitchen counters, and then I jumped into the living room straight afterwards. So I used quite a lot of the basement treasures kit in here because again, that comes with a lot of rundown items, and I really liked kind of the broken bookshelf. And then the TV bench, I always find it hard to use that one from the basement treasures kit because it's got a TV in it, but it doesn't function as a TV. So it seems really weird to use it and then put another TV on top of it. I just don't get it. It's such a funny item. I always try to use it, but I struggle every time. So let me know if you feel similarly about that, because I don't think I've ever successfully got it into a build, except if it's just maybe to sit by itself, not really doing anything or being useful in an attic or a basement. which might be the whole point of it, I suppose, but I'd prefer it to have a bit more of a function. I also placed loads of these decals across the walls and things. Some of them come from vampires. You can see me placing the ones from the Basement Treasures kit here, and I think a lot come from For Rent too. I end up looking through the For Rent ones a lot later on and then adding those in. I totally forgot that For Rent had loads of grungy stuff, so that came in so handy with this. And Werewolves also had lots of kind of torn wallpaper pieces, so I dotted those around to make it look like it's just old and decaying and has potentially been abused by people maybe breaking in to mess around in the house. Sadly, there are no broken windows to signify that someone's broken in, but like I said, they were just so stylized, the broken windows that we do have in the game, so I felt like this was the best I could do with what I had. But you can see the living room is coming together quite well now. I added in a few pieces from Horse Ranch, since that's got lots of very rustic, worn looking wooden furniture. And then I did have to alt place this TV from Basement Treasures on top of the unit from Horse Ranch. It was a little bit annoying how that doesn't count as a TV bench. I don't really understand why the Sims team seem to have some aversion to giving us a decent amount of slots on surfaces. It really drives me insane. I don't like alt placing things like that because it means that in gameplay your Sims, like, they complain and say they can't access that, because it's technically floating and not slotted to something, so they can't reach it at all. And I personally find that infuriating when I'm trying to play in a house and I now have to go into build mode to allow them to be able to access it. I'd rather it just be accessible all the time. But sadly, that wasn't really an option here, and I was limited to what kind of rundown surfaces I could use because there's not a whole bunch. So I was determined to use this little side table, which the TV did not slot to. So if you did want to download this build, I am sorry about that. But again, because it's a fixer-upper, you'd probably want to replace that TV at some point anyway. So if it breaks, it kind of just adds to the storyline. But anyway, we are just adding a bit more clutter in here and there. And I think I forgot to mention, but if you did want to download this build, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery. It's just under my EAID, AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and the information for all of that is in the description down below. That also includes things like lot value. I don't think it's a starter home, so you would have to cheat for your Sims to move here, despite the fact that it's really run down and sad looking. But technically, it's got usable, functional furniture. So I can't help that. It's still fully furnished, fully functional. So it's more expensive than most starter homes. I don't think it's a lot more, but I can't quite remember. So like I said, that information will be in the description. I am now also just playing around with the entryway. I wanted kind of a specific space where your Sims could hang up their jackets and things. And then I fiddled around a lot until I decided to use this cats and dogs side table. And then I grabbed the mirror from the Werewolves game pack, and I don't show this on camera, but I rotated it and then kind of raised it up so it was above that little side table. I didn't show it on camera because I used the tool mod for that by Twisted Mexi. Again, links for any mods I use are in the description down below. I'm not very good with the tool mod though. I mostly just use it to size things up and down, and it's really recently that I've been wanting to rotate things, so I did that so badly and so slowly I didn't think it was worth putting on camera because it took me ages to figure it out. I am not the kind of person who goes to a list of instructions. Like Twisted Mexi has loads of instructions on how to use their mods online, and I just kind of ignore them. I'm not gonna lie, I do that with most things. It's like in a video game, if there's some kind of a tutorial, I'm just like skip, 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 I want to get out of here. So I just figured it out on my own. If you do download it, I'd probably recommend checking out Twisted Mexi's videos on how to actually use the mod, but you could always just take my approach to life and wing it every time. So that's what I did, but I think it looks really effective, and I also used the same kind of tilt function within the tool mod to get all of the photos and pictures that I end up putting around the house, so they look like they're kind of off kilter. You know how it is when you hang up a picture and then like a week later, I guess the vibrations from just you moving around in the house, or I don't know, maybe you live somewhere where there's earthquakes, they all just eventually accumulate, so your pictures all look a little bit wonky. So I figured that would make sense for such a rundown house. And you can see here as well, I kept this on camera, this part of using the tool mod, because I finally figured out how to do it. I grabbed this photo of this painting from, I think it was the event around Halloween that's in the base game. So it's technically a base game item, but you had to unlock it by doing that event. And it's kind of burnt and old, so I figured it would be interesting to have that leaning against the wall, so that's why I just used the tool mod to tilt it slightly. I then did have to remove the wall to be able to custom place a little cobweb in front of it, so that's why I deleted that a little bit earlier. But we are now decorating the kitchen, and as you can see, I'm just reorganizing my custom placed little countertops around the stove area so that I can use these overhead cabinets. And these werewolves curtain things, they just look like tarpaulin drapes, which I think is really fun. So I use those as the curtains for most of the spaces. Like, again, whoever has potentially decided to purchase this house and has tried to fix it up, they maybe just wanted some privacy, so they just got these random tarpaulin sheets and pinned them up across all of the windows, so they had some semblance of privacy. And I am also using a lot of kitchen clutter in here. The little milk carton is from the Blast from the Past event that happened the most recently, as of doing this voiceover, of course. I'm doing this like 3 weeks in advance because I am going on holiday soon and I wanted to make sure I was still uploading things. So who knows, maybe they've announced another event at this point and it might be underway. I'm going to be really sad if I miss out on that though, so Sims team, please don't be doing events while I'm not at home because I want to make sure I unlock all the good stuff. That is something I really get sad about with the events, because if you miss out, then that's it. It's gone forever. I do feel like they should maybe at least bring them back. So if you do the event, you kind of maybe get it first, but then after, say, I don't know, I don't want to give a timeline, but maybe something like 6 months, if you didn't get it that time, then now it's just free for everyone and it's all in the base game at that point. I feel like that makes more sense for events, because obviously they want people to pick up the game and play it, but it just seems such a shame to almost punish people for not playing the game during that particular period. So I think that would be better, and since no one spent money on it, I feel no one should be getting upset about the fact that it's now available for everyone, because it's just a limited time free event that got you to play the game. So I think that's fine. But that's my take on it anyway. Even if you didn't unlock those items during the event though, I believe it shouldn't affect you being able to download this build. I think the item should still be there. I'm not certain, because obviously I've got it unlocked, but at least it used to be the case unless they patched it or something. So that painting and the milk carton and things, they should still be there in the build because they're technically base game. So I don't know. If you do download it and you didn't unlock those items, let me know if it works and if they're still there, because I would be really curious so I don't keep giving misinformation on that. But anyway, we have pretty much finished decorating the kitchen. I mean, I've been dotting around this entire time, just adding bits and pieces to the living room, back outside, and then back into the kitchen. I got some pictures from the Trashly collection, which is from Businesses and Hobbies. So Trashly Real Person, who you can interact with in Nordhaven, has a collection of like counterfeit, silly and fun looking artwork, and that just felt like a fun vibe for in this house, so I brought that in. I also created a spare room because there weren't really any grungy looking kids stuff, so I made a spare room with like a little piece of fitness equipment, and then the main primary bedroom is the one that uses this Lovestruck bed, which is another fun thing that's a bit weird about The Sims 4. That bed is actually from an early purchase reward, so again, it's not available, and if you haven't got that one from purchasing Lovestruck early, unlike what I think is the case for the event items, you wouldn't have that in your game at all because it's not base game. So I'm really sorry if you don't have that and you did want to download this. Again, it's really unfortunate how they do things like that. I totally get it from a business point of view, but it is a real shame. Again, I feel like it would be nicer if they made it some kind of a timed thing where after a set period of time, maybe, they just released it for free to everyone else. But because people pay money for it, I feel that's potentially gonna upset some people. I personally don't care. I'm not gonna lie, I'm addicted to The Sims. That's why I started this YouTube channel. So I'm gonna buy the pack full price regardless, because I'm gonna want it on release. Because I have no self-control over my wallet, and I would rather go hungry but have fun on The Sims than just, you know, wait for a sale. But that's just me. I also started playing The Sims 4 really late though, so most of the packs I ended up getting really discounted. It was only during lockdown for COVID that I picked up The Sims 4. So again, that was before the base game was free, so I did have to pay for that, but I think it cost like £3 for the free version, and then all of the expansion packs were like 50% off when I bought them. So, and I didn't buy them all at once, at least. My wallet didn't get thoroughly trashed at that point. And then I just started accumulating the rest of the packs from then on. And I was kind of lucky because Cottage Living, I think, was the first expansion pack where they brought in those early purchase rewards. So that was the first expansion pack that I bought full price. And at that point, I think I was planning to do it anyway. Because I love farming sims, so of course I'm going to get Cottage Living. So that meant that I didn't miss out on any of those. But again, I hate that people do miss out on it because the fear of missing out sucks and it's just not very nice. So I really wish they change up how they do that a bit. But anyway, I am just waffling on about how I think The Sims should run their business, which I have no authority on, so I should shut up and let them do their thing. But we are just decorating the spare room now. As I mentioned, I put in that piece of fitness equipment. It's just the punching bag from Werewolves, because again, it feels very grungy. And now is where I have also discovered For Rent and how many great horrible, grungy looking, moldy stuff there is in that expansion pack. So I'm just going through and adding this nasty mold to all of the walls and making it look really gross, because that was the whole point of this build. And I thought it was a lot of fun, to be honest. It really helped change the rooms. Like, they looked kind of grungy and old, but not gross. And now I think they look gross, and I love it. That is exactly what I was going for. And I also chucked out some pieces from, I think they're from Eco Lifestyle, just that old fridge that's laying on the floor with trash around it, and then also a broken down dresser unit. They're not functional at all, but I thought they looked kind of fun. And again, maybe that was what was originally in the house, and then whoever lives here now has kind of salvaged some new stuff. Even though it's not fully usable yet, they've kind of collected some better things that they can work on while they're living here. But at this point, we are coming to the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have been enjoying it, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun, so let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I really hope that I'll see you next time. So have a fantastic rest of your day, enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now!